I should have started sooner. It's the one phrase that every single person that's ever experienced success, but especially authors, it's the one thing that every one of them agrees they should have done it sooner. Don't fall into that trap. Do it now. Mm. Okay, now that I'm done choking. Hi, my name's Steve Kidd. I am a third generation minister, international best-selling author of 39 books and counting. Over the course of the last 40 years as a marketing expert, I've had the wonderful privilege of working with over 5,000 people. I've worked with everything from from me choking to death, from multi-billionaires to people just brand new starting their business, people who were really getting it done and people who were really lost, dazed, and confused. And I've had the glorious privilege and the real opportunity to be able to really spend the time to help them both find the clarity as well as then share who they are with the world. This has shown up in a 100% success in making folks bestsellers. But, bestseller is only the beginning. Bestseller is a day one launch strategy. Anybody, anybody that doesn't get your book to bestseller in that first 3 to 5 days, and I'm not talking about some kind of pre-launch campaign where you spend a year or 6 months or whatever pre-doing your book. I'm talking about the day your book is ready to go. Boom, you launch it out. It actually takes about 3 or 4 days to get it set up. But after that, you should be launching out, and your book absolutely should be a bestseller. And that's the starting point. That is, like you said, that's day one. That's what you build on. That's where you start from. That's where you were intended, destined, manifested to, all of those positive words supposed to be. But it has to start. And that's where the problem comes in. There are a couple of different groups. I was going to say 2, but then I was like, well, there might be 3 and I might end up with 4. So anyway, there's a few different groups of people that you're going to run into when it comes to where they are with their book. You have people who do have successful books, and there are people who don't just who their book is well known. You take a book like Think and Grow Rich, or How to Win Friends and Influence People. And you take books like that. You take fiction books like Lord of the Rings or the Chronicles of Narnia, or, and the list goes on. If you go into more quote unquote moderner books, you could talk about the Harry Potter series and things like that. You've got certain books that they are wildly successful, and you have people that are at that level. That is the exception and the small percentage, not the rule. Those are not the typical authors. Okay. No, I don't know. No, her last name isn't Kidd. I do have a cousin named Mary, but her last name is not Kidd. Unfortunately, sorry. I'm not saying that they might not be an extended relative, but I don't. Most people fall into the other side of the equation. It's the people who want to write a book and never do. Statistically speaking, we know that over 80% of the people you'll ever meet, 80% of the entirety of the population of the planet. So that is so cool. Well, Ptolemy said hi. My grandparents are from Detroit, Michigan, and originally from Marietta, Ohio. So if she's from that area, then we might be relatives. I don't know. Most people. So out of that 80% of the whole entire population. So 6 billion-ish people in the world that say they want to write a book that never do. Okay. There's about, out of that 6 billion people, there's about 5%. It's really closer to about 3.5, but we'll just use round number of 5% of those people that ever actually even write a book. Okay. I'm not talking about publish a book. I'm not talking about it's on Amazon or bestseller. I'm just talking about that ever even just write the book. Okay, so out of that 6 billion people, 10% would be 600 million. So 5% would be about 300 million people actually write the book. Now here's where it gets scary. Okay, if you go onto Amazon right now, there is somewhere between 50 and 75 million books that are on Amazon. I'm not saying that every book that exists is on Amazon, but it's pretty darn close. If we rounded that up and we just call it 100 million books, okay? So out of the, and I'm just talking about the current population, I'm talking about all the books from ever, not ever from ever, but all the books that are available right now for sale, okay? And if you talk about the fact that, there's 300 million people and there's only 100 million books, that means only a third. Okay, but it gets worse than that actually, because there will only actually be about 2 million books that are published this year. Okay, now that's up. I mean, if we were looking back pre-pandemic, we were talking 2020 early, well, more like 2019. It was closer to 1 million, but it's gotten to be pretty consistently about 2 million books a year that are being written. So, that's 1%, less than 1% of, that 300 million, 2 million would be, well, 3 million would be 1%. Okay, so it's less than 1% of the people who write the books that actually publish the books each year. All right, that's scary, right? So you're talking about 5% of the 80%, 1% of the 5%. A little less than that. Actually, it's almost a half of 1%. Okay, and those are just the people that just publish their books. Now then, out of that number, it's somewhere it's again about 3.5%, 4%. We'll again call it 5% of those ever make it on the bestseller list, because the average book sells less than 40 copies ever in its lifetime. Most of those go to your mom, your girlfriend, those kind of things. Okay. And so what am I saying? What I'm saying is that the person who is the J.K. Rowling of today is sitting out there. They may be listening to this message right now. And they're living in that space that every single author, myself included, every single one regrets. And that's that I didn't do it sooner. And that then once I did do it, so if I'm in that 3 million books that got published, and I'm then only in that group of people who only ever sell 40 copies ever in their entire lifetime, and they only really ever sold it to their mom or people in their houses, or they bought all those copies themselves. Okay, most people are in that space. And the regret comes from the fact that it's like, A, I didn't do my book, and B, I didn't do anything with my book. I got the cure for both of those for you. We've got a plan. We could literally help you. Hi, Helena. Glad to have you here with us. We could literally help you get your book done. And yeah, I do have some AI tools that I can bring in that you could do it in the course of this next week and still have your book out by Thanksgiving if you really, really wanted to do it. I've got a story developer. I was literally just Facebook messaging with her. She would love to work one-on-one with you. And then the next 30 to 90 days-ish, and that kind of depends on some nuances, but basically you could have your book completely done, totally written, with help, very easy. It's a really great process that we've got together. So you could totally do it. Hey, Willie, I'm so glad. How is Los Angeles? I bet it's nice and warm there and sunny, and you're not dealing with the cold. And you are one of those amazing people that is not in the regret space. What's up, back at you? I'm so glad to have you here with us. Willie J is doing some amazing things, and today he's in Los Angeles, back in the recording studio, because as amazing as Couldn't Imagine is and was and how high it went, now let's do about oh, I don't know, a whole album is anywhere from 9 to 15 songs, just depending on the particular album. I know albums are a little bit making me sound old, but let's put out another 5, 8, 10, 12, 20 more songs that are just as powerful and just as amazing. I'm so glad that it's going great. And Willie is the perfect example of somebody who doesn't live in that regret space. He doesn't. He has these songs running through his head, and books too. Never Stop Winning 2.0 is just waiting for a few little final little tweak, just little itty bitty pats. And then it's going to be all made and ready to put on the grill and grill up as that yummy, juicy burger that it's going to be. And you really, really are going to see some amazing things out of it too. And then it's going to have the exposure that goes with it. And there's the machine, the thing that Willie and I put behind every client we work with so that you can be like Black Diamond's doing. One of Willie's clients that we both work with, I work more with his dad, Lataxion, and his book. But, you can have a song that's ranking on the international charts. You can have a book that doesn't just make it to bestseller for a day. You can have a book that hits the bestseller chart and stays there. And you don't even have to do what Carl Michelle did. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but I'm saying you don't have to. We've got a system in place so that if you don't want to hustle and grind and put your book in the hands of everybody, we'll get it in the hands of people for you. We have the branding and the marketing to get you the exposure, to put your book in front of people. It's there. It's for you. It's designed so that you don't live in that, I wish I would have done it sooner space. I can tell you from experience, personal experience. You look back at the things that you do that really worked. And the only regret you end up with is, why didn't I do that sooner? I love what I'm doing. Why didn't I do it sooner? And I'm not talking about things that you didn't know. I'm talking about stuff that you knew. Okay, go back to that 300 million people that wrote the book, and less than half of 1% of them are going to put those out. That's a regret. I'm not even talking about the things that you don't know. I'm talking about the things that you know, that you do, that are so easy for you that you probably, as I'm talking to you right now, aren't even thinking about that as being something you should write about, something you should sing about, something that you should put out into the world. Because it's so easy. Yeah, it must be easy for everybody else. And yet, when you do share it with the world, and when it takes off and catches fire and makes the movement, it turns the momentum out of the moment. Yes, I just stole a phrase from Willie. It does those things. And the only regret you're going to have is that you didn't do it sooner. So I'm here today to tell you, let's not live in that regret anymore. Let's do it. Okay, I spent all weekend working on the last little piece that I need to do so I can put back out, the new version of Bestsellers Only the Beginning, and totally flip the script on everything you thought you knew about landing pages and marketing and relationship marketing and getting to know people and all of that. I promise you, this is a game changer. And I'm doubled down and really working hard on it because I know how important it is to you as well. And I'm encouraging you, don't live in regret. Don't let that regret get you. Learn how to, and then work with me so that you can stay consistently in mind's eye. Where? In the place where people go to get books, in the place where people go to get music, in the place where people go to get whatever it is that you've got. You need that marketing engine in place. You need that exposure. You need that visibility, because when you're visible, you can be valuable. And without it, you're just kind of sitting in a rowboat with no oars, hoping. You don't even have a sail, so you can't hope for a breeze. All you can hope is that, like an earthquake happens or something, and the waves are great enough that they propel you somewhere. Let's get an oar. Let's get visibility. Let's get a program. Let's get a path. Let's get beyond regret. Because I promise you, if you sat down right now with J.K. Rowling, okay, J.K. Rowling, with all of the amazing things she's done with the Harry Potter series, don't get me started about it, okay? There's a whole other discussion about Harry Potter books. But, the woman made billions of dollars off of her book. But for those of you that know her story, she went through a horrible divorce and was left penniless and was in a very desperate situation. And I'll bet you, in the quiet of the night, like we all do when we're like reliving our whole lives and changing all of the things that are unchangeable, I bet that what she really wishes is, A, she would have never married that man, and B, she would have written the first or gotten the idea to write the first Harry Potter book before she ever met him. Whether you go back to the phrase, Thomas Paine, I think it is, don't quote me on that, I regret that I have but only one life to give to my country. When you go through all the regrets that everybody has ever shared, it all has to do with the things that they didn't do more of that they could have done. It's not a person sitting in their rocking chair at 80 or 90 years old and wishing that they had been more selfish, wishing that they had spent more time at work. It's about them wishing and regretting the times that they weren't the most to them that they could be. So I'm begging you, really, maximize the day that's known as today. Do the things that only you can do today, whatever that is, and get the exposure that you actually have. DM the word amplify. Let's get you seen so that you can be heard. When you're seen and heard, that's what's going to lead to you getting paid. You have to be known. Okay, we buy from people that we know, like, and trust, that we know. If nobody knows you, how can they learn to like you and to trust you? And if we only buy from people that we know, like, and trust, and nobody knows you, so let's get you known. Let's do it. DM the word amplify. Let's get you away from regret and into motion. You'll never regret starting. You'll only ever regret staying silent. Let's not be silent anymore. Let's step up and do it. You got this. I believe in you. Tomorrow we're going to get together and we're going to talk about our Black Friday blind spot. And I look forward to talking to you about that. Until we're together again then, I hope that you're happy, safe, warm, and loved, and that you have a great week.